This is
Alrighty.
Chapter 7-6 of the Omelette Row, a post-epilogues fix-it fic. You decide, when you accidentally half-bury the ship in the Consort Kingdom soil, to blame your shitty aim on still being weak post-resurrection. Totally not because you were too busy contemplating the cryptic words of an ominous cherub or anything. The windows, which previously offered a stunning view of the cyclical catastrophe that is innate to all planes of reality, now only has dirt to offer. It's not bad dirt, per se. It's got all the richness of color and depth you'd expect from a hardy heap of soil. The shade of brown here is pretty captivating here on its own, and, why do you suddenly care about this? And why are there suddenly 2 windows in your field of vision? Maybe you hit your head on impact, and that's why everything's so... Luckily, Jade teleports all of you above ground to the flourish that zings down your spine and snaps you alert again. Everyone seems to be present and accounted for amidst the deep and humid jungle foliage. It's actually making you want to sweat a little. You've only ever lived in the salamander village close to the human kingdom's border, so the idea of consort biodiversity kind of slipped your mind, even though you know at least 2 of the species just thrive in more tropical climates. Jade floats a few feet in the air above you all, her ears standing to attention and tail wagging eagerly.
Nobody's too hurt, right?
Other than my self-respect for stumbling into Jade's fat xenophobic ass, yeah!
Oh, hush! Jane rolls her eyes, then seems to consider how actually dismissing Karkat's concerns could be seen as a kind of xenophobic thing to do, and promptly rescinds the gesture. You're physically fine, Karkat. Believe me, I can tell.
Get my name out of your filthy mouth!
Oh, brother. Come on. We're all getting along so well.
Free from the unity of a common purpose, your social group is already fracturing back into petty bickering about not-so-petty issues. It's making you recall the one non-depression-related reason why you gradually withdrew from it all.
More importantly, we need to confirm that Harleybert space-time jump ×2 combo actually succeeded. Dave, where are we?
Dave looks up from his phone, which he seemed to materialize the instant Karkat and Jane started going for each other's throats. Yeah, hold on. He reaches out an arm in what you are almost completely certain is a bullshit gesture. You're pretty certain he has an innate time sense by virtue of being a Knight of Time that doesn't need to be coaxed out. Also, his phone literally has a clock on it that has no problem syncing up with the planet-wide Wi-Fi. It's, May 25th, 3:33 p.m. local time. Right year and all that, so yeah, we're back.
And how far out are we from our target destination? Since, forgive my insolence, but this hardly looks like any kind of mansion I've ever seen.
I know these jungles. Dag and I used to have quite the romp here. Back when...
Jake looks at the still unconscious Dirk resting in the oversaturated wild grass with an uncomfortably miserable expression.
These old mansions only a few miles hike away to the...
He glances up at the sun, squinting in concentration.
To the east.
Jade grins sheepishly, showing off her canines. They glint a little in the hyper-bright light of Earthsea's sun. You'd forgotten how fake this whole planet feels. You've only been back a few minutes, and already you're struck with a familiar unease, a familiar sense of unreality. It sticks as a lump in your throat as you swallow at it again and again until you can breathe.
Well, it's close enough. Especially considering I've never messed my space powers with retconning before. I had no way of knowing what would happen until it actually happened. Reassuring.
Jade doesn't seem to be that bothered by the inherent risks involved in what the 2 of you just did. You suppose that's her built-in desire to experiment and push the boundaries of pretty much everything she does talking here. You couldn't imagine being even a fifth of it as adventurous as your sister.
Regardless, we still need to make our way back to society. Standing around in a sweltering jungle and shooting the shit indefinitely has its charms, sure, but we have actual lives. Yeah, I gotta see how Kylie's doing. It's been like, actually, technically, they've only been alone for like 4 hours at this point, but still, they were left alone for a half retcon year, and even though it didn't happen, I'm still feeling kind of guilty over that one.
Roxy frowns, a little troubled at the metaphysical implications of undoing a great and terrible act of abandonment towards his, girl? Friend? You heard him say they a couple of times just now, so is your Calliope also... You look over to Roxy, wanting to ask, but finding the question unable to come out. Probably because you don't want to be an insensitive dick who feels entitled to knowing everyone's gender secrets. Right. I need to return to office now that my impeachable offense of abdication has been undone. Roxy looks at Jane with a frown.
So you're still gonna be prez even though it was like all a part of Dirk's bullshit? Even after all that shit about you being a fascist in the other timeline?
Jane looks down at her hands. Standing there in her god robes in the middle of a jungle, she hardly looks like any kind of political leader. More like a young woman out of her depth struggling to make sense of her place in the world. Dirk operated through the power of suggestion. If I wanted to, I could have stopped any time I wanted to. But I didn't. I made this bed. I have to lie in it now. Otherwise, what's the point?
Just like, keep in mind what you could have become if you're not careful. And for the record, I still think us getting involved in politics like this is a bad idea. I'd hate to hate you, Jane.
It's as close to a blessing as Jane's gonna get. Jake and Jade have decided that a troop of weird bugs marching across the foliage is suddenly the most interesting thing. Rose and Kanaya are all skeptical eyebrows, and Dave and Karkat are just straight up glaring. It's an awful, terse atmosphere. One you believe has no place among these people you care about so much. Briska, however, just laughs.
Okay. I've seen the kind of nasty shit you can get up to, Crocker. All you really could have given the continents a run for her money. Except for the part where you got taken down by an anti-fascist insurrection and maybe died a just death. Can't say for sure on that front. The militia was awful cagey when it came to your apprehension. Either way, your bloody reigns generally have a shelf life of like 8 sweeps, tops. Pretty laughable for any kind of aspiring tyrant, if you ask me.
What she's saying is that if you try any bullshit, Jane will not hesitate to fucking kill you. We lived through one dictatorship, we can topple another.
Terezi leers, teeth sharp, one arm around Vriska's shoulder. Already they've become this kind of inseparable unit that makes your chest feel strange, but is also pretty intimidating. Like, you get the sense that between the two of them they could take on all of Earthsea at once and win. It's so fucking cool. Jane, however, does not seem to share your enthusiasm, and is actually looking at them with an alarming amount of disgust that even she can't conceal. You're fairly certain Karkat notices this too, because he's suddenly bristling, and beside him Dave is reaching for...
Anyway, I think we gathered our bearings enough to get moving. So let's do that thing right now instead of anything else we were doing.
Jade's talking at 100 miles a minute and floating erratically enough that nobody can get a word in edgewise. Inwardly, you're pretty relieved to see the conflict get interrupted like this. Canon or no, this kind of hostility just isn't right.
Well, if we're to be off...
Jake bends down and scoops Dirk in his arms bridal style. Except, instead of any of the delicacy and romance associated with the gesture, Jake just kind of lets Dirk flop like a sack of potatoes. Dirk's head droops in a way that you just know will lead to the nastiest neck crick when he wakes up, but Jake doesn't seem to give a shit. God, you don't get this weird erotic antagonism thing at all.
Sleep tight, my darling.
Hey, so, let's get out of this shitty jungle and back to living lives as far away from each other as possible. Oh, yes, Dave, that's the best idea anybody's ever fucking had, says all people in the immediate vicinity. Dave squirms, pointedly looking away from that hot mess faster than you look away from any meaningful introspection. It's a miracle he doesn't get whiplash from the force of his neck snapping in the opposite direction from the newly empowered, somewhat horny Jake English. Karkat cups his hand and gently massages it, giving soft shooshes in an attempt to console his boyfriend.
I concur. Let us away. John.
Rose turns to face you. You want to say you don't, but you do actually wither a little under her scrutiny. You have no idea why you've suddenly grown so averse to attention, but you think it sucks a lot, actually?
Actually, the jump took a lot out of me, and I'm afraid that if I try again, I'll end up retconning us all back into, like, Con Air or something.
Mostly, you're afraid that if you unravel yourself again, you may not want to come back together. That you may not be able to come back together. It's been several hours, and that bodily disconnect still hasn't faded. You're beginning to worry just a little.
Don't worry, I can handle it. I know where Jake's place is pretty well, and since there's no time travel involved at all, getting us there will be a cinch.
Rose waves a hand in aloof approval.
As you will.
Okay, get ready, everyone.
Jade floats into the middle of your dysfunctional congregation and lets a wave of green energy roll through her body. Her hair starts floating like she's underwater. It reminds you a little of Ghost Calliope piloting dead teen Jade's corpse around. Must be a manifestation of powerful space stuff. With a click of her fingers, Jade zaps you all over to the foyer of Jake's mansion. The shift in air pressure hits you like a brick to the sinuses, and you fight not to go dizzy as your feet plop against gaudy, shining tiles. It's not humid in here, at least, which gives this place some bonus points, even if Jake English has no fucking clue what interior design means. Terezi stares up at an opulent golden chandelier, nostrils flared wider than you thought possible.
Why does this place smell so... shitty?
Hey! It's not so bad!
Sorry, Jake, but it really does look like if you ask someone with an Art Deco fetish to make a house, but said person has literally never seen Art Deco before.
Roxy leans back against a fake taxidermy tiger statue. It wobbles over and crashes to the floor, as if to prove his point.
I suppose. Dirk always went off about how it was hurting his fragile, masculine dude bro eyes. So actually, I think I'll keep it a little longer.
He looks down at the passed-out Dirk in his arms, who remains unconscious, like a perverse rendition of some tragically poignant anime damsel.
So, you're gonna be keeping him here, I surmise.
Jake smiles, a little sheepish.
Yeah, I think so. Someone needs to look after him and make sure he actually gets rehabilitated.
And you believe you're the right person for the job? I only say this because we all know how susceptible you are to Dirk's manipulation, narrative hijacking, or no.
Aha! Don't worry about that one, dear Rosie. My noggin's feeling clearer than it ever has.
Rose smooths her expression, trying her absolute hardest not to react to Jake's cornball terms of endearment.
I mean, according to his wishes, I pretty much have to be the one to do this.
His wishes?
Indeedy!
Jake jostles Dirk's sleeping form enough that his stupid anime limbs jiggle a little like overcooked, soggy noodles.
Dirk himself requested his atonement take the form of a gay baby jail. And well, who out there is more up to the task of assuming the role of gay baby Gowler than I?
Jake beams, all unflappable confidence in the matter. You catch a faint pale glow coming from his skin, like he took his hope bubble and he shrink-wrapped it over himself as a means of protection. If he believes he'll be fine, then you figure he probably will be fine. You kind of get the sense that that's how Jake English operates.
Well, just remember you can rely on any of us if he gets too out of hand. Waking up to find yourself trapped in a fanon is Well,
Rose, I lived with this man for a non-insignificant period of years. I'm more equipped to handle whatever existential tantrum he can conjure. The idea that I'm incompetent is nearly exclusively as a result of Strider propaganda. I will be fine!
okay. I'll believe you.
That's all I ask for. I'll have Dirk whipped back into humanity as fast as swell. So when's the part where we all finally go home? Between being utterly humiliated on the political stage and enduring another extended cosmic odyssey, I'm ready to crawl into a hole in my hive and not do another fucking thing for the foreseeable forever!
Karkat throws his hands up and starts pacing in circles across Jake's foyer, right up until the moment he entangles himself, quite horrifically, with an 8-foot-tall lamp carved to look like a sexy naked blue lady. The busty beauty wobbles and pivots around Karkat's writhing form, and then seems to lose her balance on the overwaxed tiles. She slips and flips up into the air, smacking her face against Karkat's with an echoing conk.
Fuck! I hate this outside world, and I hate the outside world, I hate the—
Turns out the elegant dark hair on the lady's head is little more than a wig. It slips off her scalp and somehow stuffs itself into Karkat's mouth. His head flops back in a grotesque impression of an asphyxiating fish as the Beauty in Blue's bald head crashes to the ground with all the finesse of shattering cerulean porcelain. Karkat rips the cheap Party City rag out of his mouth and throws it to the ground, stomping it out like it's a feral rat that's also on fire. In his frenzy, he bumps into Dave, who goes skittering to the floor like a skinny horse on a frozen lake. A deep gash is torn down the middle of Jake's plush rug, which is also thin as tissue for some reason. Out of the corner of your eye, you see Vriska and Terezi upend a whole display case, taking advantage of the chaos to wreak their own brand of mutually enabled mischief. It's honestly surprising how quickly Jake's pristine symbol of bourgeoisie land ownership is being utterly fucking trashed.
Jade, John, one of you, please get us the fuck out of here!
Karkat looks like he's 3 seconds away from bursting several major blood vessels. Maybe even all of them? He grasps you by the collar of your god hoodie, looking the part of a man on the brink.
Egbert, for the love of God, I can't take this anymore. You're my main bro, right? Do me a solid here, please!
Oh god, you're still feeling kind of dizzy, and a worked-up Karkat making demands of your mutual, brohood? It's really not helping in that. Hey dude, get off John, your shaking's gonna make him puke or something. Dave's up off the ground and extracting Karkat from you as delicately as someone like Dave can extract someone from Karkat. Someone like Karkat. You're only half paying attention to this, because your rattled head now feels a little like someone stuffing a bunch of cotton in there. God, what is wrong with you? Once Dave's pried Karkat off of you, he immediately clutches onto Dave's chest like a prickly, troll-shaped baby koala. Dave pats Karkat's shuddering back with one hand, face implacably still. It's stupidly cute, you think? John, you okay?
No, yeah, everything's fine. Just, I feel like I need some air. Probably the tacky ambiance getting to me.
You give a laugh. It sounds genuine enough, but its fakeness erodes at your insides a little. You don't even know what your problem really is, but your whole body's screaming at you to not share it with anyone. It's giving you a headache on top of all the other symptoms you're feeling, to be honest. Huh. Anyway, hey Jay, do you want to think about starting Operation Homebound Teleportation, or...
I mean, if everyone's ready.
That's a resounding fuck yes from Karkat. Dave gives Karkat another pat.
Yes, I think it is more than past time we went our own ways for the moment. Full offense to all of you, but I am in dire need of quality time with my wife. Take that in every way it can be taken.
Wink.
Okay then.
Jade claps her hands twice, drawing all the attention to her.
All right, everyone, I'm gonna start zapping people home now before we wreck Jake's house any further. So, just let me know when you want me to drop you off, okay?
The first two people to express a very loud, very unambiguous desire to go home are Dave and Karkat. With a fond yet exasperated eye roll, Jade snaps her fingers and pops the two of them halfway across the planet in less than a second. Then it's Rose and Kanaya, who go about their requests in a much more respectable manner. Then she asks Jane, who... Actually, I'll just call my private jet. It won't do for official appearances if I just start popping up whenever and wherever. It'll give me the time to decompress and think about where to go from here.
Okay.
If you need a telephone, Jane, there's one through that hallway over there.
Jane nods and gives a courteous enough thanks before slinking away to find a working phone.
Terezi? Vriska? What about you two?
It doesn't escape your notice how even Jade's starting to view Vriska and Terezi as a single unit, in the same fashion as Dave and Karkat, or Rose and Kanaya. What she's saying also poses an interesting question, given that neither of them have actually have anywhere to stay on Earthsea. You start saying,
If you want to, you could.
but Terezi cuts you off.
I've already thought about it. We're gonna go use Dirk's old apartment in the Carapace Kingdom.
Oh, are you?
Terezi nods, completely self-assured.
Very much so. It's not like he's gonna need it for the foreseeable future.
She motions to Dirk's slumbering form, still uncomfortably held in Jake's arms. You're starting to feel impressed by how long Jake's managed to hold him for, unless the discomfort he must be feeling is part of this new weird evolution in their relationship?
Also, it's like a basic law that if you beat someone to a pulp, that automatically entitles you to a fraction of their land ownership. If he wanted to keep it, he shouldn't have been such a little bitch. Well, I'm not arguing with you there. Woof.
Take us away, Harley. Hold on.
Roxy pauses, clearing his throat.
I'm heading back to the Carapace Kingdom as well, so if you could just bring me along for the ride, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. What about you, John?
Oh, well,
Well, you suddenly feel very put on the spot, even though it's a very easy question with a very easy answer.
Obviously, I should probably head back to my house. Only, would you mind if I decide to fly back instead? I need to clear my head a little.
Your chest feels a little tight. You hate how interacting with the people you're closest to makes you feel like you're on the verge of flipping into a full-blown anxiety attack. There must be something on your face because Roxy frowns hesitantly.
Actually, if you're gonna fly, would you mind if I kept you company? I'm worried about Callie, and I think I could do with some mid-air feels jam to stop myself from becoming like a hysterical wreck over them. I mean, if you're cool with it.
It's a bullshit reason. Roxy's worried about you and clearly wants to say something to you, but he's doing you the courtesy of offering a means of plausible deniability about the whole thing. And to be honest, you could probably do with a good vent session somewhere less chaotic.
Sure, yeah, that's fine. I could come over. I could even come over and see Callie with you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, probs need the support because they become such a hermit since Dirk's plot fuckery. Go ahead and zap him, Jade, it's cool.
Jade nods and sends Vriska and Terezi to their destination. Now it's just you, Roxy, and Jade standing there. Jake scuttled off at some point with Dirk, and to be honest, you're more than happy to leave them to their own devices. Jade's standing there smiling, but you can't help but wonder...
Hey, Jade, where will you go?
Oh, me?
Jade gives a wistful half shrug that does a bad job of convincing you that she's okay.
Probably go home for a while. Then I might chill with Dave and Karkat if he'll have me. And maybe help Jake out with Dirk later on. I'm not sure just yet.
Just because I'd hate to see you on your own?
Jade frowns and huffs at you.
John, I'm fine, really. If I get lonely, I have lots of friends I can call on. Don't worry about me.
You fail to cease worrying about her, but you get the sense this is a point she won't budge on.
Okay, just, you know where I am, yeah?
If I ever want to pester you, I'll most certainly get in touch. See you later.
Jade pops out of the room in a flash of green light before you can say another word. Helplessly, you turn to Roxy, who just kind of shrugs.
I don't know. I think she'll be okay. She knows she's not alone. You, however.
He points at you, poking his finger into the middle of your chest. You involuntarily let out a few ragged breaths.
Let's get flying and see if we can't get this shit hashed out.
Okay.
Roxy takes your hand and pulls you through Jake's front door and out into the sky above. From here, you can appreciate the mass verdant sprawl of the jungle in all its glory. And as you climb higher, the sweltering humidity begins to slowly abate. Your lungs greedily swallow down the cool air. A soft breeze wraps around your godhood, making it flap behind you like an overgrown ponytail. You close your eyes as the two of you float in the general direction of Roxy's place. It feels nice up here.
So, John. Dude. Spill.
Roxy pokes you in the side as you both pass through a thick white cloud. It runs over your bodies in a way you're fairly certain clouds aren't meant to act, but you've never been that boned up on the laws of this particular universe, so you've no idea what the fundamental differences are between what you know and this new reality. For a dizzying moment, it all strikes you as unreal, a feeling that only passes after you breathe deeply several times over. Roxy's still looking at you, expecting an answer. Below, the topography begins to shift as you reach the limits of the jungle.
I don't know, Roxy. I felt a little, I don't know, tired out since I came back from the dead?
You've been freaking out over pretty much everything. I don't think you can chalk that up by just being tired. I didn't, get something wrong when I brought you back, did I?
There's a distant, high rumble. You glance past Roxy to see a bright red Crocker Corp branded private jet soaring over the jungle. With an idle flick of your wrist, you redirect the air currents to keep the fumes from wafting into your faces.
No, I don't think so anyway.
You just...
You fall quiet. It's hard to get the words out in a way that doesn't make your chest feel like it's going to burst. You've never really spoken about this with anyone, save for a one-sided shouting match inside the Juju. It's strangely painful opening up.
I've been oppressed for quite a while, Roxy.
Oh.
Roxy's face tightens.
You doing okay?
I don't know. I mean, when I spent all day in my house hating myself and avoiding the world, it at least made sense in a sucky way. But then I went off on Rose's mission and Fuck, it's hard to, actually get this out. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Take your time, however long you need.
You breathe out slowly as you look at your sleeves rippling in the wind. Below, there's a crisscrossed patchwork section of rivers bound for the distant ocean. You spot the bright pink shells of turtles bobbing along in the water. It would be so much easier to be a consort, you think, to not have all this self-awareness that makes existing so awful.
This is gonna sound really concerning, but even when I figured out that going on the mission would mean I would die, I still looked forward to it?
No, yeah, that's actually really concerning and also majorly unhealthy.
No, I know that. It's not like I actually want to die. Just...
The fields of water give way to pipe villages, glistening brilliantly in the sunlight. Too brilliantly, you can't help but think. Everything on Earthsea is always so good. It's quite literally paradise, and for some reason, that fact makes you feel worse. Like it's a world you can't be part of.
It gave me the chance to feel important again. Like I mattered. This is gonna sound incredibly stupid, but It gave me the chance to feel like John Egbert again.
Roxy looks at you, very silently and very intently. You wish you could read anything into his expression, but you can't.
I should explain that better. I don't know, I just... Sitting in the house every day, it made me stop feeling like a real person. It's probably some weird depression symptom with a fancy name that Rose knows of.
Saying it all out loud is... well, it doesn't quite have the liberating effect you were hoping for. You do feel a little different, sure, but in the sense that in addition to the tightness in your chest, you also feel a little thick-headed and dizzy. Roxy continues to say nothing for a long time. Oh fuck, have you said something wrong? Have you just put your foot in your mouth in a big way here?
I mean, I guess that's just what happens when you remain depressed and isolated for so long. At least, it didn't feel much weirder than anything else I was feeling at the time.
And do you still feel this way now?
I...
You can feel Roxy's eyes raking over you in such a way that it takes all of your strength not to just dissolve into wind and flee this conversation.
I don't know, kinda? Since coming back, everything has felt a little like an out-of-body experience, but feeling like a fake person? That's...
You shake your head and give a hollow smile.
If anything, it's probably the fact that I'm recovering from Dirk's attempt at writing me out of existence that's making me feel a little strange.
Roxy looks deep in thought, though in the same way he did way back at that picnic with Calliope where you made your choice to begin with. Like, he knows something about you that you yourself don't.
Roxy?
Roxy looks back to you.
I think there may be a very serious question you need to ask yourself eventually.
What question? Is there something wrong with me?
Your heart begins to hammer against your ribcage like a cornered animal. Panic weighs on you so heavily it's a miracle you don't just drop from the sky and crash into some poor salamander's mushroom farm.
Nothing wrong with you at all. And don't fret too hard about the question. If you truly need to ask it, you'll know what it is, I promise. But if you do, I'll be there for you.
He seems so gravely serious. You feel like there's another layer to what's being said here that you just aren't getting. For some reason, that makes you feel even weirder.
Thanks? If I have another weird depression crisis, I'll be sure to come to you.
Roxy nods.
Just know I'll be there no matter what, yeah?
Yeah.
The gravity of this conversation is making you feel a little weird. You take another glance below. The lawless sprawl of the Consort Kingdom is making way for the neat, grid constructions of the Carapace Kingdom. You're nearly there.
So, what's the deal with Calliope? Why are, they boring you?
Roxy gives a thin smirk.
Yeah, don't worry. I got it right. Callie goes by they now. And yeah, they're going through some stuff.
Stuff?
Yeah.
Roxy looks away, down at the heavy purple architecture of a Dursite city. You both pass over the tall, domed roof of a Gothic cathedral before he speaks again.
When Jade got possessed by Ghost Callie, or Callie-like, it freaked them out real bad, like they saw something downright frightening in their eyes. Enough that they don't want to go anywhere anymore, they just draw weird pictures of us all. Oh, wait.
Roxy clasps a hand to his mouth and inhales sharply.
What is it?
I just realized something. What Callie was drawing on our walls, it was that timeline.
That timeline?
Where you stayed on Earth, see, and didn't fight English? The one with those kids? The straight people nightmare timeline? Or nightmare?
That one? God, why?
Your skin begins to crawl at the mere mention of that reality. Part of you is hoping you'd be able to forget all about it as soon as you got home, but you guess not. Roxy shrugs.
I don't know, they won't explain it. And they really didn't want me going on this dirt stopping mission. They're really afraid John and I'm just not sure what to do.
Roxy shoves his hands in his pockets and looks over the Carapacian landscape with a schooled look on his face. You let out a sigh yourself and watch the clouds roll by both above and beneath you. The air is colder the further north you go, but something about the bracing atmosphere is helping you think more clearly.
Well, part of what might be eating them up could be due to everything Dirk was up to. If Callie realizes they're not in any more danger, they might be more willing to talk. Everyone else is alive and okay. That kind of reassurance could get them to open up.
Maybe. But I just got the same Callie's troubles, more existential.
Hmm. Well, maybe I could try talking to them. I know a little about existential problems and how that feels. Maybe Callie's feeling something like that?
Roxy's eyes go wide.
You'd try that?
Of course! You're my good friend, and Calliope is someone you love, and also my friend too. I feel like a failure as a friend if I didn't at least make an attempt. I'm not sure if I'll do any good, but I have to try.
Roxy smiles now, warmly.
Thank you. Here we are.
You begin your descent into a familiar Carapacian neighborhood. You both stop outside the front door to Roxy and Calliope's apartment, even though both of you are more than capable of just phasing through the door and getting in that way. A couple chess people stare at you as your feet touch the ground, but they're too busy and or too polite to turn you into any kind of spectacle today.
Hey, Callie. It's me.
Roxy knocked on the door rapidly and softly.
John's here too.
Hi, Callie. I'm back from the dead.
No response. You press your ear against the door and focus. Inside, you can hear muffled scuttling, the odd crash, and the rustling of paper. Just what is Calliope up to in there?
It's okay. Everything's over. We're back. Dirk stopped being evil. Nothing can hurt you now, honestly.
Yeah, we're back here. We've been given the cosmic go-ahead to exist as we like. Everything's back to normal, Callie.
Without warning, the door opens a crack. You nearly lose your balance as your leaning post is pulled away from you. Calliope pokes their head out of the door. Their eyes are wide, and their weird skulls seem somehow unwell. Like, if they had human or troll skin, they'd be worryingly pale.
No, it's not.
Callie?
Roxy takes a step forward, but Calliope frantically shakes their head. You look down to see a tightly clenched piece of paper in their hand. It looks a little like a crude rendition of... Gamzee?
She won. Soon she will exert her influence over all things.
Callie? The fuck are you talking about, BB?
Tears are pooling in Calliope's eyes. Already you can see them slowly beginning to withdraw.
The muse succeeded, did she not? She's out there, unbound and uncontested, free to let her power expand in whichever way she sees fit. You will be reduced to little more than pawns in her elaborate, self-serving stage.
Callie, we saw her already. She said we're free to do as we please and let Dirk can't fuck up the multiverse, or whatever it is he was doing.
Evidently that's completely the wrong thing to say, because Calliope starts trembling in earnest at this point.
You are wrong. She offers us little more than sugar-coated euthanasia. But you won't believe me, because she's already in your heads.
Hey, Callie, no, we're fine. Everything's fine.
Roxy reaches out to grab Calliope's hands, which is when they scream out.
No!
Please, Calliope, we're fine. I promise you. Everything's back to normal.
Calliope looks at you in utter terror, a terror you recognize intimately. It's your own terror reflected back at you on the face of a traumatized cherub. It's like a bucket of ice is dunked down your spine.
No, it's bloody not. Nothing will ever be the same again. We are now completely under her stranglehold. Things can never go back to how they were now. Ever.
Well, that certainly upped the ante.
No, that's very exciting. It's very exciting.